Hey Rams, welcome back from the break into another week of Hunter's Hotspot. Now that we are already in October, fall is officially in full swing, and that means that all levels of football, from high school to the pros, have returned. Let's kick things off tonight with some local high school football. The first team to take the field and kick off their fall 2020 season here in Fort Collins was Rocky Mountain High School, and they did so in a dominant fashion, defeating the visiting Prairie View Thunderhawks 28-0 on Thursday night. While the Lobos eventually found their footing as the first half went on, things started out a little shaky for the Rocky Mountain team in the first quarter, with a fumble on the goal line and a recovery by the Thunderbirds, right when they were going to score the game's first points. Despite this early mishap, the Lobos ended up turning it on by the end of the first quarter, crossing the goal line 3 times in the first half and making the score 21-0 by halftime. After the initial onslaught, Prairie View figured it out on defense, holding Rocky Mountain to only one more touchdown for the rest of the game, but were absolutely shut out on offensive side. Unable to capitalize on the great second half effort, by the game's end, the game stats demonstrated the impressive performance by the Lobos, finishing with nearly 400 yards of total offense and holding the Thunderbirds to only 257 yards, 19 of which were through the air. Moving on to the second game of the week, Fossil Ridge took on Horizon at French Field on Friday night. This game was much closer than the first. It was Fossil Ridge that struck first with quarterback Tyler Kubat hitting senior tight end Tanner Erkin for a 12-yard touchdown pass, putting the SaberCats up 7-0. Jumping forward to the third quarter, Kubat threw another touchdown strike to add to the Fossil Ridge lead, this time to fellow sophomore Mac Bustede for a 40-yard score. Even with the second half difficulties, the Hawks would not back down. Recording an interception in the SaberCats territory, the very next play they were in the end zone with a 25-yard touchdown pass, making the score 13-7. In the fourth quarter, Horizon completed the comeback, taking the lead 14-13 with another scoring strike. However, the SaberCats were not finished. With 7 minutes left in the fourth, Kubat connected with Bustede one more time with the game-ending score. The SaberCats ended up winning 21-14. Now on to the final game of the week, where the Pooter Impalas hosted the Fairview Knights on Saturday morning, once again at French Field. Unlike the other teams within the Fort Collins area, the Impalas struggled, falling to the lopsided loss. Pooter was unable to get anything going, especially on offense, where they were shut out by Fairview. On the other side of the ball, the Knights controlled the pace of the game, hitting Pater 3 times, twice in the first half and once in the second. Fairview would ultimately get the win 19-0, kicking off their season 1-0. This week there will be no games in Fort Collins, as all of the Fort Collins high schools will hit the road. Unlike last week, all 3 games will be played under the Friday night lights like they would regularly be scheduled. Fossil Ridge will be at Prairie View, as the SaberCats will take on the Thunderhawks. Pooter will be traveling to Smoky Hill to take on the Buffaloes, and Rocky Mountain will be playing Fairview over in Boulder. Now let's up the level of play a little bit, from high school to the pros, and covering some more ongoing NFL news. After the postponement of the Sunday's NFL game against the Patriots and Broncos due to a pandemic-related outbreak within the Patriots organization, the NFL has made major schedule changes in order to put the contest in at a later date. All of these adjustments will impact a total of 9 teams in the NFL, including the Titans, who have already missed the game pushback due to COVID-19, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Jaguars, and, of course, the Broncos and Patriots. After all of these changes, Denver's game against the New England Patriots will be played on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. Looking at the rescheduling a little further, the team that is most affected by the rescheduling is the Chargers. They are on a bye week this week, and to their next game against the Jets will be changed from week 6 to week 11. Their contest versus the Jaguars will be week 7 rather than week 8, and their divisional matchup against the Broncos will be played in 2 weeks when they would have played Jacksonville. Even with all of this, we still aren't completely done with the Chargers' schedule just yet. The Chargers will play the Dolphins Week 10, pushing the Broncos-Dolphins game that they would have played this week to Week 11. The Chargers are struggling as it is, but I think this is going to be a good week for the Chargers to have that bye week so that Justin Herbert can get back into the game. With all of these schedule changes, you might need some advice on who to start this week in fantasy. Don't worry though, I'm here to break down some players to target during this heavy bye week, Some of your best options will be delegated to the bench. In week 6, there are 4 teams on the bye, including the Saints, the Seahawks, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Now that we've gotten through that background info, let's finally jump into the fantasy picks for this week. To start things off, I really feel like you should look at ascending wide receiver Justin Jefferson for week 6, especially with all of these buys. Jefferson is a great player to go for. He has a favorable matchup against the Falcons as they are depleted at that defensive back position. Another positive is that Thielen is on the team, so he's going to get a lot of those targets that you're going to see. So that means that they're going to have to game plan for both Thielen and Jefferson. With Metcalf, Thomas, Lockett, Allen, and Ruggs all on the bye this week, Jefferson is going to be another possibility that you can go to in that wide receiver 2 slot. In his recent games, he's either been a bust or a boom, but I think that he's going to pick things back up in this next game, and we'll see how it goes for him. Thielen is another option if you don't already have, if you don't have Jefferson on your team. Definitely start Thielen for this week. Moving on to my sleeper pick for this week, Dolphins quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick is an option at quarterback that every fantasy owner should keep an eye on. Again, with all of these buys, Russell Wilson is going to be out. He is the #1 fantasy quarterback. Drew Brees is going to be out, and Justin Herbert will also be out. And if you're looking at Dak Prescott, who just got knocked out, that means that Fitzpatrick is going to be an option, and he has done very well. Fitzpatrick is only owned in 22% of his leagues, making him pretty easy to pick up on that waiver wire. He's averaging over 20 points and is coming off a season high. Excuse me. That's all we have for tonight.